One important issue is particularly that we are in the Senate, and particularly that distinguished senators are to be in the vanguard for the sustenance of democracy. Insofar as the constitution of our party did not preclude any member of the party from contesting any election, whether there's an incumbent or not, I think what I merely did was to exercise my right to contest. I knew, and I remember that questions were asked and I appropriately answered them. So what I have done is in consonance with the ideals of democracy. And I mean, we have at the national level, an incumbent was president of Nigeria, and somebody who virtually came from nowhere defeated him. It was still possible for me to defeat if there was proper primary. But there was no primary, and I tell you why. So, sorry. I want to conclude. Should I stop it? Senator Goye is asking me to stop. So I did not lose woefully. I want to put it on record. Sorry. That's all right. As to the question whether I will contest in future. Thank you.
You were talking about your views on judicial reform. I think that was the last. I think you've answered all those questions. Just one more question, then. Senator here, I think you have any question to ask? You have more questions?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'm Emmanuel Boacha, I represent Taraba South. Barrister Shittu, a careful look at your resume reveals that you are an Islamic scholar. Yes. And at that level, you must be familiar with the activities of the United Nations as it affects propagation of religions worldwide. You must also be familiar with Reverend Moon. Reverend Moon, the elder brother of Ban Ki-moon, who is heading the United Nations Religions Organization. You made an interesting remark that if you'll have your way, you will be able to recruit religious teachers to come together from different religions. Clearly, you are a student of Reverend Moon. The activity of that department in the UN is to bring all religions together in the world. Is that correct?
No. Well, I can speak for myself.
Okay, now let me learn. Now, Reverend Moon believes that if all religions come together, that they are serving the same God, then there will be peace in the world. What does this portend to the human race generally as a religious scholar? Particularly in reference to your paper, one of your publications. Now, the part B of this question, what will be your perspective in the war against Boko Haram? That is it a religious extremism? And number 3, is there any ideological difference between the APC and the PDP? Take away General Buhari. Take away General Buhari. Are they not all the same people moving from time to time to one party and the next? This is a question. This is a question. And finally, how do you know that you are astute debater. Is that your personal opinion? Or people have come to you and expressed this to you and also given you an award? Thank you.
Senator Abukari.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Abubakar Kari, representing Borno North. Mr. Ministerial nominee, I can see from your CV you have had several Islamic publications, one of which is Path to Paradise. My colleague, the Deputy Minority Leader, just asked you a similar question regarding Boko Haram, which is today one of the most pressing issues confronting not even Nigeria, but terrorism worldwide. And part of the ideology that is pushing terror, especially religious terror, is to do with the path to paradise. And I can see you have a publication, even though it was published in 1991, way before the rise of Boko Haram. What would you do as a minister of the Federal Republic, in whatever capacity, in whatever ministry that you find yourself? Because being an authority, I would say, based on your CV, to Islamic affairs, would you do to handle the issue of Boko Haram? Because as we see it, military might alone could not defeat it, because we have seen situations worldwide. I have mentioned before in the past, even the mighty Russian army couldn't defeat insurgency in Chechnya. To an extent, there was a time a Russian general was asked, how come the mighty Russian army couldn't defeat the insurgency? And he replied, he said, how do you defeat an enemy that looks down the barrel of your gun and sees paradise? So we're all talking about ideology, we're talking about path to paradise. And also you have another publication that says, that deals with dawah, which also is one of those tenets that Boko Haram is hinging on. But we also find out that a lot of these Boko Haramis do not even know anything about religion. So what would you do as a minister? What advice would you give in the Federal Executive Cabinet or policy to handle the military action and the other actions that you feel that may give the rise to securing peace in the Northeast and in Nigeria as a whole? Thank you.
Senator Matthew Rogide.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I'm Senator Matthew Rogide from Edo. First, let me lend my voice in congratulating the nominee. I have two quick questions for you. Which, number one, based on the CV that is before us, I think the essence of this hearing is to be able to ascertain your suitability for this position and, of course, the responsibilities that will go with it. Seeing your CV, about 2004 to 2007, you were a member of the Judicial Service Commission of Oyo State. And then, of course, you became the Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice of Oyo in 2007. This period, you were the Chief Law Officer in the state. And I know within this period, one of the very critical happenings in this country, which was the murder of Chief Bola Ige, happened in Oyo, in Ibadan specifically. Today, That murder is still shrouded in secrecy. Nigerians still do not know what happened. I don't know. You might be sent to Ministry of Justice again, now at national level. You had that responsibility. I don't know whatever happened, whether it is now, judicial system, what you think was wrong, particularly with criminal justice, administration in this country. But because you were involved in it, that same period, you were in the state. And I also know a very prominent politician,
Distinguished, you can put the question.
Yes, was killed. So what do you think actually militated against, finding out what happened to these distinguished Nigerians that were killed? That's number one. Number two, you have said here with a lot of relish, your followership and membership of the Unity Party of Nigeria, particularly on the personality of Chief Obafemi Awolowo, a distinguished Nigerian too. I have seen too that after that time you were very loud your membership of the party and involvement in that government. Of course, Bola Igetu was the head of that government in the states. I have found too that you became again very prominent when the CPC came on board. So your followership too is built around the person of General Muhammadu Buhari. I want to ask, after the period, you are still saying in very many years, if after 4 years, what you are thinking that the APC under the leadership of Buhari is going to give to Nigerians, I don't know whether there is free education, I don't know whether there is free health, I don't know what is actually in the manifesto of the APC. If in the next 4 years, what do you expect to see that General Buhari will do for Nigerians, just like the UPN under the leadership of Awolowo did for Nigerians? So, as a member of the Federal Executive Council, what are you going to press that will mean enduring legacy and benefit to Nigerians? Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. You can take those questions.
Okay. Distinguished senators, the first question from distinguished Senator Emmanuel Boacha is about Reverend Moon and all of that. Reverend Moon is not a Muslim, and his standards and worldview about religion are not Islamic. I am a Muslim. My worldview, my aspirations, my goals are in conformity with what Islam teaches. And what does it teach? It teaches freedom of religion. So I will never subscribe. In fact, in the Quran, if I may be permitted to quote, God said, if he wanted all peoples of the world to belong to one religion, he would have created all of them in that same religion. But he decided in his wisdom that people should practice different religions as they wish. So I don't believe in forcing anybody. And we all know also that Islam means a religion of peace. Peace means no intervention, no force, no violence, no compulsion. There's no compulsion in religion. I will come to Boko Haram. About Boko Haram, I must say that a lot of, in the past, in the last few years, 2-3 years, I've seen a lot of Nigerians unfairly blaming northern leaders for not speaking against Boko Haram. Of course, we know that anybody who spoke against Boko Haram was killed. A lot of examples. Even their legal advisor in Maiduguri was at a stage killed. So is it a difficult thing for anybody who wants to continue to live to make comments in the public fora about these faceless things, the elements? But what I want to assure this distinguished Senate is that even if the Boko Haram elements claim to be Muslims, everything they have been doing are un-Islamic. It is an elementary knowledge in Islam that you do not kill a soul unless it has gone through a judicial process and has been found guilty. If the offense for which it has been found guilty merits, death sentence. We know how they operate. We know that all that they do are antithetical to the teachings of Islam. So I want to say, I hope safely, that I do not consider them as Muslim. The people may claim to be Muslim. People may claim to be Christians. If you claim to be a Christian and you still have a Babalawo that you consult, you cannot in reality be a Christian. If you claim to be a Muslim and you kill people who have not sinned, who have not offended, even if you think you are, your thinking of being a Muslim is a mere perception. So I want to say with all sense of responsibility that I don't want to commit much because I still have a family to take care of, and I also want to leave.
We the nominee are just expressed. Is it the wish of the Senate that the nominee, if the nominee can take his leave now, nominee, and take your leave.